Adam, the Whitehair Master, Episode 12. Conjuring. I have been friends with Adam for a very long time, but that was the first time I treated him to a real meal. That particular day, Adam was likely to surprise by the meal as well, so he curiously asked me why I had offered him a meal. To be honest, I had two purposes. I put my cup up and told my first purpose to him, Adam, we had been friends a very long time, hadn't we? I had brought you lots of troubles, so I wanted to give you a proper apology, so boom, we were there. We had cheered the cup, and Adam was likely to accept my apology. But I had another thing to tell him, and Adam had recognized from the beginning how I could hide it from him. He told me that I didn't want to have a drink and just told him what happened. That case was a bit different from the others earlier. I was faltered a bit. I told Adam that I would pay him no matter how much money he wanted me to pay in the future, or anything he wanted me to do. Just tell me, as long as I was capable of, I would try my best to do everything for him. Hearing me ran in a circle around, he got it straight as normal. He told me that he had never seen me in trouble telling him the case and just told him what I wanted him to involve at that time. To start everything, I asked Adam curiously if he has ever in love. After spitting it out, I was embarrassed a bit with that silly question. With Adam's condition and appearance, how the heck he had never been in a relationship with someone. Adam was surprised by that. He replied he used to have a girlfriend and told me to continue. I took the whole cup of wine in a gulp to have the courage to start telling him. I started to tell Adam about Sophia, my ex-girlfriend. I had come to the hospital for a healthcare checkup. Coincidentally, I saw Sophia, my ex-girlfriend who had broken up with me for years. I thought that must have been 5 years already. So I came to have a chat with her and heard about her situation. Her son was hospitalized in the hospital. So that child, at that point, I got faltered. Adam asked me in a panic if that was my son. How the heck Adam could imagine that? How a movie-like scene happened to me. I tried to explain to Adam that was not like he was thinking. That was her son with her current husband. The point was her son was in a coma. He was in that situation after a car crash. She had no idea when her son could awake. She looked very shabby and miserable. After hearing her situation, I believed Adam could help her with his psychical abilities, so I wanted to ask Adam if there was any spiritual way could help her son. But, unfortunately, modern medical had given up on my ex-girlfriend's case. Doctors told her that she better kept waiting for the miracle to happen. That was really different from the other cases. Adam could feel how serious that was for me. He gave me a sorry, he's sorry for making joke earlier, he didn't mean anything. He wanted to help me and spoke up afterward, what I wanted him to do. I told Adam that he should come to see James first to see if that was a thing he could sort out spiritually. I hope. Adam stood up right away and ready to go. He said that he was very healthy that day and pushed me to go to the hospital. Then we took a cab to the hospital, where James, my ex-girlfriend's son, was hospitalized. Even though we had broken up, we were still good friends. We found Sophia in no time and introduced Adam to her. Adam would come to see James to check out directly, so we came to James's room. Once I stepped into the room, even though the baby in front of me was not related to me, but I felt heartbroken. He looked very weak and sick. Adam closed his eyes and murmured something in the mouth. Then out of the blue, he wide opened his eyes. I felt that he had found something already, and his eyes were sparkling. Adam stared at James and furrowed his eyebrows. First felt something wrong. I barely saw him with that reaction. So I asked what did Adam found. Adam turned around and asked us to come out for a talk. Once being outside, Adam told us that he didn't see James's soul in his body. I frightened and asked him what did that mean. Why was the soul not in the body? Adam said that it might be because of the tragic car accident. The boy's soul had gone missing. He was supposed that the boy might be too scared and lost his soul in the severe car crash. Sophia was very scared of what she heard. She cried her eyes out, asked Adam in panic what she should do and how she could bring her son back to life. The car accident had occurred a long time ago. Everything we could do at that moment was finding luck. We had to get back to the incident scene. Adam worried if James's soul was still around the scene after such that long time. And then, Sophia took us to the incident scene right after then, a crossroad in the suburb. After getting out of the car, Adam walked straight toward a direction. Adam stopped by a spot and asked Sophia if that was where the car crash happened. She confirmed that was the place. I wondered how Adam knew exactly the place. James's mother didn't give him a hint prior. The trace of the accident had been cleared and faded out already. I curiously asked him how he could know that. Adam gave me a simple answer. The crossroad was very strange. 3 roads were running towards the intersection that had been gathered all of the evil spirits, and he was standing at the point. Adam indeed got yin-yang eyes. Sophia worriedly started to tell us about the day her family got in the accident. That particular day, the 3 family members, including her husband, Sophia, and her son, little James, drove around. To make sure they got some air in the car, they let the windows opened. At that time, Sophia and James sat in the back. At the crossroad, she heard a car's horn in the left. She startled and turned her head back. She saw a small truck rush towards their car. Fortunately, her husband got a quick turn. He turned the car to the left, and as a result, the truck didn't hit their car in the front but from the back. That car hit was really strong. Sophia and her son had felt to one side. James was hit strongly to the car's door, and got unconscious since then. He didn't hurt anywhere in his body, but James was unable to wake up. Adam said that he could see a little aura of the town nearby, but it was not enough to tame the evil spirits at the intersection. Adam walked to the pavement and pointed towards a bush. There was a feng shui rock there. It had been put there to tame the evil spirit, but he had no ideas from when it had been broken into 2 pieces, so those evil spirits could lord it over people at the crossroad. But luckily, Sophia and her husband had made it alive. I worriedly asked Adam if he had any ideas to find James's soul back, what we should do next. The little boy's soul had been out there in days. Adam replied that the feng shui rock had been broken, which was an advantage for us at that moment. Since James's soul must have been stuck somewhere around and didn't escape yet, we had a big chance to find him back. Then Adam decided that we would look around for James's soul right at that night. He quickly told us his plan. Adam showed us how to call James's soul back. Adam told us repeatedly that Sophia and I had to remember what he told us carefully. We had to make it without a mistake. We had to call James' name 1 every 3 minutes. That night, as planned, Sophia stayed at the hospital to look after James's body. Adam and I drove to the crossroad by Adam's car. After stopping the car, Adam opened the trunk. I looked at what Adam had brought with him in the trunk. I could guess this time must have been a tough case. Adam told me that we had to try our best seriously. This time would be far more complicated than what I had experienced. There were many tools. Only Adam was the one who knew exactly what we were going to do. I didn't see him use those tools before. Adam took up a bronze bell. Then he handed me a bunch of joss paper and asked me to hold those stuff. Once he rang the bell, I had to toss those joss paper around. Adam and I came to the accident spot. Adam rang the bell. The bronze bell looked small and normal, but it sounded very clear. I could feel the echo of its sound spread to my ears, to my heart, and hit me from the inside. Every time Adam rang the bell, he shouted out, James, come back. Your mom was waiting for you. James, where were you being? Every time he rang the bell, I tossed the joss paper on my hands to the air. Adam repeatedly called the little boy and rang the bell for dozen times. I followed his bell sound and tossed those pieces of joss paper around, but still saw no James's soul. Adam furrowed his eyebrows. He shouted out why he saw nothing, why he didn't call the little boy back. Did the little boy's soul came to the road of death? I asked him curiously what was the road to death. Adam worriedly explained to me that the road of death was the road to hell. James's soul might have followed the others' roaming souls to that place, and if so, we must have not much time. So we didn't have a chance to save James, it seemed. First worriedly asked Adam what we should do next. Adam drowned in his thoughts a bit and gave me an answer afterward. We had to drag James back from the road of death. The thing was, the little boy didn't make it by himself. We needed someone to come there and get him. Adam continued that we should take quick action. He was afraid that we had no time to come and find James's family, so there was only him or me. He stared at me with a hopeful look in his eyes. I was a bit hesitant then. Everyone's scared in that situation. Going to the road of death means you gamble your own life. But I ended up decided to do that and save the poor little boy. I wanted to do that because I didn't want to see Sophia, my ex-girlfriend, got desperate, and also because I wanted to be useful to Adam. I replied Adam, with my determination, let me go. Adam took out a red string, tied to my finger. He told me to walk to the west. He tried to tell me over and over that I had to stay focused, and walk ahead no matter what could happen. Don't scare of anything, because that stuff was unable to harm me because I had that red string to protect me already. I must go on until I found James and took him back there. If the string was stretched, it means I gotta stop, or else he was unable to pull me back, and I would stick there forever. Then Adam covered my eyes with a red band. I prepared to walk to the west. He told me once again, I just needed to walk ahead and pulled James back once first caught him. After a few steps, I felt a cold breeze flew by. I got a cold under my foot. Even my eyes had been covered, but I could see everything around me clearly. Especially those scary things that are present in front of my eyes, which were all stray evil spirits were flying around me. I followed what Adam had told me. Moving forward, I quickly realized that those not human being-like creatures had surrounded me. It sent a shiver down my spine. I was so nervous horribly. I felt that I was stepping on a very slippery, wet, disgusting ground in my barefoot. My head was blanked out temporarily. All around me were full of numb, demonic ghosts, walked on their barefoot, step by step on the muddy ground. The cold from my foot shortly was covering my body. I bent my body as a ball eventually and looked at those ghosts who were walking around me. They looked exhausted demonically. The cold and sadness were visible on their face. There was an unexplainable feeling growing inside me. Out of the blue, I forgot who I was, what I was standing there for. I was reluctant to take any action. I wanted to follow what the ghosts around me were doing. The numb feeling was growing and growing inside me. My consciousness was likely to disappear for a few moments, and I started walking after those ghosts to where they were walking. I felt a pain in my finger out of the blue. It helped me to pull myself together. I tried to get my consciousness back. The dark and foggy atmosphere around had affected and changed my behaviors. I must have to get back to my way. I slapped my face so hard a few times and reminded myself to keep on my way. I had only chance to save James and get him back. I tried to pull myself together and started looking at the boy amongst those ghosts. And then, I saw him finally. He was following those ghosts and walking after them slowly. I was afraid of losing James, so first ran after him as quickly as I could. I was short of breath and oxygen, but I still tried to go after James. I was so happy and forgot what Adam had told me before I entered that place. I ran to James's place and patted James's shoulder, called his name that made me regretful immediately. Adam had told me that I had to keep silent, no matter what might happen. The boy turned back. I was scared to death. I had mistaken him. That was not James, but a little ghost with a very scary face. I stepped my foot back in panic. My voice had attracted the other ghosts around. They started noticing me. 1, 2, 3, more and more ghosts had gathered around me. One by one came and looked like one to eat me in the flesh. They grabbed me and squeezed it badly. They wanted to tear my body out and eat me. I was scared a shit out of me, but I could not escape. At the moment, I thought that I was unable to get out of it. I must have been eaten alive. But then, there were some flying fires out of nowhere. Those fires looked like fireballs and flew to those ghosts. Those ghosts got frightened and let me go since they had to use their hands to cover their eyes from those fires. I was very sure that those fires came from Adam. He had saved my life another time. I quickly escaped that place from those ghost surroundings. To distract their attention, I pretended that I was one of them. I walked in the way among them slowly, tried to make my face soulless. After a dozen steps, I faced up to check around. I saw a little boy who was walking and crying. I thought that must have been James. I wanted to come closer to get James, but once first stepped my foot ahead, my finger got hurt. The red string on my finger had stretched tightly. I was unable to step any further. At that moment, James was right in front of me. I couldn't just let him go like this. I wanted to call him out, but I had a lesson already earlier. My voice would attract those scary ghosts' attention, and they would not let me go easy this time. I stepped towards James. The string was likely to be broken, but that was not enough for me to even touch him an inch. Seeing James step ahead, out of my hands, I really had no idea what to do. I was a bit hesitant. Finally, I ended up scream out James's name aloud in desperation. The boy heard that. He turned around with tears in his eyes. This time, I was right. Fortunately, that was Sophia's son. That was her little boy James. I quickly screamed out that I was a friend of James's mother. I came to pick him up, and I asked him to come to me in a hurry. My voice was in a hurry as well. I told James to come to my place as quickly as he could, so that I could bring him home, and my voices indeed attracted those ghosts. They came towards me. I repeatedly asked the boy step to my place. But those ghosts held James back. They didn't want to let James go. I felt that if I stood there and kept everything like that, there would be no way to save James. So I took off the red string on my finger. I pushed the ghosts surrounding me out. I ran towards James, grabbed him, and held him on my chest. I quickly gave him an explanation. I was a friend of his mother. His mother asked me a favor to come and pick him up and wanted him to follow my lead from then. He shouldn't have been scared. I grabbed him tightly because I was scared that he would slip off my hands and be left behind if there was any carelessness. But, once we turned back, I was frozen from what in front of me. There was a thick fog all around us. I was unable to see anything, even the way to step in. I couldn't find where was the red string there. Me and James's only way out was following the red string. I grabbed James's hand and groped in the fog, found the way to where I took the red string out. The more I stepped out, the more I got shivered and weaker. I thought that I could sacristy for James's good and his life, but that was so childish. If I were unable to find the red string, I would put an end to my life, and James's life as well. I had no idea what to do next. I thought about giving everything up, and there was a barking sound out of nowhere. In front of me, there was a big yellow furry dog. He looked very old. I had never seen a big old dog like that. He was holding a red string in his mouth. Regarding the dog, later, when I described it to Sophia, it turned out he was Max, a member of Sophia's family. He had lived with them more than 10 years and died a few years earlier. I grabbed the red string, and with James next to me, we walked along the red string back, even though everything was so dark and foggy around, but we just needed to follow the red string to get out of that place. And then out of the blue, my eyes caught the light. I winked my eyes, and saw Adam was right there, in front of me. He had taken my eye patch out. I shouted out to him, "Where was James?" I had taken James's arm, and where was he? That was my first reaction to Adam. Adam smiled at me and told me that the little boy had back to his body. Thanks to me, James was safe at that time in his mother's arms. Hearing James was safe, first was a bit frightened. I sat flat on the ground. I told Adam that I was very scared back then. I didn't think I could make it, and I thought I would stay in there forever, never could see him again. On the way back, I curiously asked Adam, what happened if I was scared and had no guts to go to the road to death and bring James's back? His answers didn't out of my guesses. Adam had tested my bravery. He told me that if I didn't come to the road of death and pick James up, that would be the last time I see him. He added the rest of my life would live in regret since I didn't save my ex's son. I gave a relieved sigh afterward. I had made the right choice. After that case, Adam had seen a different side of me. He understood me more as well as I could understand the deeper side of me. I could stand by Adam and help him out with his job confidently from then. At that moment, I had heard the thing I have never heard Adam talked about me before. He didn't think I could satisfy myself for others like in kinda that situation. I took off the red string and pulled James back. He told me that first was brave and kind. I gave him a light smile and replied that everyone would take that decision if people were in my situation. No one could just stand by and see the little kid go die. Regarding James and his mother, after the little boy woke up, he quickly recovered well and got out of the hospital a few days later. I had less chance to talk to my ex. Anyways, she had her family already. We were just like old friends, and kept in contact. The good sign after that, Adam trusted me more and handed me some more important works later on.